the standoff continues today. Now, for a fourth time, members of the Texas House of Representatives did not reach a quorum, and that was when they met earlier this afternoon. So with that, the Democrats, as we know, if we rewind, they left the state last week in order to purposely prevent a Republican-led redistricting effort that could result in another 5 U.S. House seats eventually turning red during the 2026 midterms. One item for context and clarity here: the bills related to the deadly Hill Country flooding, those were not put on the calendar until late last week, for clarity, and that was after those Democratic lawmakers had already left, despite what you may see on social media. So a real quick rundown of the developments today, if you've been out of touch. The House, first of all, is set to vote tomorrow. This is going to be 5 bills related to the Central Texas flooding, and if they concede a quorum, and that obviously right now is going to be the huge question. The House Speaker did say earlier today that the state they do have DPS agents right now actively looking for House Democrats who may still be here in the state of Texas. We do know that agents have been going to homes. They have been making calls. They have yet, though, to bring anybody back. The House Speaker also said that they have set up this tip line that you see right here. That's why you see a phone number. This is for members of the public, anybody, to call in if they see or hear anything about the whereabouts of any Democratic state representatives who continue to not show up at the Capitol. That phone number, you can read it, 866-786-5972. Meanwhile, large number of House Democrats in Chicago since last week continue to stand their ground.
Let me be perfectly clear. Texas Democrats are not running away from any fight. We stand our ground because we know exactly what we're fighting for. And we don't take our marching orders from a man who thinks he's a king.
On Politics reporter Jack Fink is in Austin live right now for us, joining us from the governor's mansion. CBS News Texas, the only local station to join the governor for a sit-down interview, live at 5 o'clock today. Jack.
Thank you, Doug. We are inside the library of the governor's mansion. Governor Abbott, thank you so much. We appreciate it. So, no quorum again today. You've got Texas DPS agents searching across the state for House Democrats who've broken quorum. The FBI is helping you. No luck yet. What's happening?
Well, we're searching across the state. We call it a dragnet, looking for any Democrats we can find to make quorum. For your audience, there's 150 members of the Texas House, 88 Republicans. To have a quorum, we need a total of 100, so we need 12 Democrats to be able to make quorum. We will continue the search as we speak right now to try to make quorum. If we do that, we'll be able to go in and immediately not just pass these maps, but also take care of addressing the floods in the Kerrville area as well as across the state, work on reducing property taxes. There's so many things for our fellow Texans that we need to get passed, but we can't because the Democrats have done something very un-Texan. They have run away from a problem. They got afraid and they ran away. Texans stay and fight. In this case, you have a bunch of cowards who cut and run.
And let me ask you, Governor, because I've talked to a couple of Republican lawmakers Friday and again today. They say there have been discussions already that instead of just 5 additional seats for Republicans, there have been discussions that having as many as 8. Are those maps being drawn up right now? And if so, is that fair?
So we're looking at a lot of different alternatives. In part, it could be to make sure that we do have fairness. If you compare Texas to California or Illinois or New York or Massachusetts, those states are truly gerrymandered. And they have hardly any Republican representation in Congress whatsoever.
Well, so is Texas. Right?
Well, no. There's a higher percentage of Democrats in Texas than there are in the congressional delegation than there are Republicans in California, Illinois, New York, or Massachusetts. And so if Texas were to draw its maps the way that these Democrat states have drawn their maps, it could mean as many as maybe even 10-seat pickup. So, Jack, what we're doing, we're looking at all options, but the thing that's needed is for people to show up, these members of the Democrat caucus. They can't just leave their job. They're required by the Texas Constitution to actually show up and cast votes on bills. That's what the Constitution requires, and that's why I'm seeking to remove Gene Wu from office, because he is not fulfilling his constitutional duty.
Well, I was going to ask you about that lawsuit, because not only are you filing, the Attorney General has filed against Wu and also 12 other Democrats. And what we saw 4 years ago, this opinion by the Texas Supreme Court said, let me get the terminology right, basically that the Constitution enables quorum breaking,
right,
which is what they're doing. So it's enabled. So why isn't that an adequate defense for these Democrats? And is the other legal problem the fact that the Constitution does not explicitly ban quorum breaking?
So in the Supreme Court opinion you were talking about, a very carefully chosen word, it enables quorum breaking, but doesn't authorize it. Let me give you an easy example, and that is an interstate highway enables you to go 100 miles per hour, but doesn't authorize it. It's against the law. Same thing here. Even though the Constitution enables Democrats to break quorum, the Constitution does not authorize them to do this. In fact, the Constitution does the exact opposite. It requires them to show up and cast votes on bills.
And so, but it doesn't ban it. Does the Constitution need to be changed to make it more explicit, or do you think that this lawsuit, if the Supreme Court rules your way, will handle that?
If the Supreme Court rules in favor of the lawsuit that I filed, it will end quorum breaking. You know, if you look at the wording of the Constitution, it was intended to address situations where somebody may be absent. You know, it was written at a time back when you had farmers and ranchers taking care of their ranches, or people could get ill, different things like that. It wasn't even considering purposeful quorum breaking. They did not think at the time they wrote the Constitution that people would not show up and do their job. And yet that's exactly what happened. There have to be consequences in the real world. If you don't show up to do your job, you'll lose your job. Same thing should happen with regard to Texas House members. If they don't show up to do their job, they should lose their job. I'm seeking to vacate them or remove them from office because they were refusing to show up and do their job.
And so right now, some Republicans they've already filed a bill that would make it illegal. Basically, if a lawmaker doesn't show up for a consecutive 7 days, then they vacate. So is that something you would support, and would you add that to a special session agenda?
Absolutely. The problem is that would require a constitutional amendment that requires 2/3 votes. And so the runaway Democrats who don't want to do their job, they could stop that from passing.
All right. Governor Greg Abbott, we will leave it there. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time tonight.